Right now for number 12, we're going to be graphing a system of inequalities. Again, this is really similar to graphing regular systems of equations. But the first step that we have to do here is to isolate the y variable. So I'm going to start with the first equation, and I'm going to isolate the y variable. So down here, I have 3x plus y is less than 2. You can just treat the last one as if it was an equal sign. Nothing really changes. So I subtract 3x from both sides, minus 3x. I'm left with y is less than negative 3x plus 2. That's it for this one. Y is by itself, and this is the equation, the inequality that we're going to be using to graph our lines. And the second one, let me do it with black. It's going to be negative 8x plus 2y is greater than or equals to negative 2. So let's try to leave y by itself. Let me add 8x to both sides. I'm left with 2y is greater than or equals to 8x minus 2. I still have to divide by 2. Divide by 2 and divide by 2. That goes away, so I'm left with y is greater than or equals to, well, 8 divided by 2, that's 4x. And negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1. That's it. These are my two equations now. My two inequalities. Now I have to graph them. So let me graph the red one first. We have the red one, y-intercept of positive 2. So I'm gonna go 2 up on my graph. 2 up. And I have a slope of negative 3 over 1. So it's gonna be over 1, and then 3 down. 1, 2, 3. Right there's my point. So now I can make this line, but check that it doesn't have an equal. It's not less than or equal, it's just less, because it doesn't have the equal sign like this one does, the little line under the inequality. Because it doesn't have it, it means that this is going to be a dotted line. So I'm going to be creating a dotted line connecting these 2 points. So let me create my dotted line. It's going to look something like this. Down and going up as well. There's my dotted line. Now the shading, it's less than. Notice that it's pointing to the left. So it's going to be a less than, which means I'm going to be shading below my graph. So take my graph. Well, if I start shading this way, that's above the graph. I have to shade below this graph. So I'm going to be shading everything only below my graph. So it'll be something like this. So I shaded everything below my graph. Now let's graph the second equation, the second inequality. We have a y-intercept at negative 1. At negative 1, I'm going to have my y-intercept. And I have a slope of 4 over 1. So I'm going to go 1 over. And then 4 up. So 1, 2, 3 up here. Now notice this is a greater than or equal, because of this little line here, this is not going to be a dotted line. This is going to be a solid line. So I'm going to be creating a solid line connecting these 2 points. That's a really steep slope, but it doesn't matter. Get this line. And we're almost done. This requires shaded, because it's greater than, we're going to be shading above the graph. Now this one's a little bit harder to see where's above and where's below. Just take a point, again, take any point in the graph, like let's take this point. Above, just go here, that's above. Below, that would be this way. It's going to be above, so we're going to be shading everything up here. So I'm going to be shading everything up here. And it's going to keep shading. I'm going to keep shading everything. Let me turn the lighting. I'm going to shade everything above. Okay, now notice for my red graph, I shaded everything this way, and even here, this is still red shading. But this red shading, it's all by itself, so we don't really care about this red shading. Now for the black one, I shaded everything above. But notice here, this area, it's only black, so we don't care about this region. We only care about the region that has both black and red. And this is the only part. Everything here is shaded both red and black. So everything above, everything here, that would be the answer. You don't have to specify what is the answer. I just want to see that you can actually graph them like this and see where the colors overlap. When I see that the colors are overlapping pretty much there, I can understand that that is the right answer. And this is pretty much it in graphing. Just graph. Be careful with the signs. If it's less than, shading down. If it's greater than, shading above. If it doesn't have the equal sign, like the black equation does, if it doesn't have it, it's going to be a dotted line. And if it has it, then it's going to be a solid line. And this is it. This everything you need to know about solving inequalities.